In the bilingual edition, we're on page 218, which is Siman Stani Aleph, in the Rabbi Friedlander edition. Okay, so we discussed the 5 interactions between the body and the soul, which really, we said, boils down into 3 levels. We could really take these 5 levels and put them into 3 levels. What the Ramchal is going to do now is to tell us how these main 3 levels, how each of them is tied to a different part of human history. So maybe let's just do a review how human history is going to go. What's the order that we can expect for the universe? So there's the first 6,000 years. That's where we're now, 5782. So by the year 6,000, what's supposed to happen? Moshiach is going to come, and we're going to go back to Eretz Yisrael. And when Moshiach comes, the world is going to recognize that there's one God, the world will be filled with knowledge, but there's not going to be a change in the physical characteristics of the world. Right? We'll still have bodies. While the Yetzer Hara will be shechted, there won't be Yetzer Hara because it will be so clear to everyone that there's a God. The way Rabbi Naaman put it is that it will still be possible to sin because we'll still have our old habits, like someone who quits smoking. He knows that smoking is very bad, it could cause cancer, but it's still very difficult for him to stop smoking.
But you said someone who quit smoking, not someone who's trying to quit.
Someone who's trying to quit, whatever. Meaning
someone who's trying to quit can't quit.
What?
Someone's trying to quit smoking can't quit smoking.
No, I was just saying intellectually he knows that smoking is bad, but he still has it's hard for him to stop his bad habit of smoking, is what I'm trying to say.
A habit is...
He's got a physical, like for someone knows that he should get up for davening, but it's very hard. Right, so it's going to be. He was saying that it takes some time for us to get out of our bad habits.
Smoking is a very bad example, then.
Could be it was a very bad example.
Okay, yeah.
Could be. We'll have to think of a better example next time.
Smoking so you understand it.
Mark Twain said, "Quitting smoking is simple. I've done it hundreds of times." So so that's when Mashiach comes. Now, after Mashiach comes, is going to be Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead, which means people are going to come back. So that's when nature starts getting a little different, right? So it's going to be the resurrection of the dead. Now, after the 6,000 years, there's going to be a period of 1,000 years where the world gets destroyed, and this is where things and recreated. We're going to learn about that. And then after that 1,000 years, that's what we call Olam Haba, where the world is recreated in a new form. So now what the Ramchal is going to do, these 3 levels and the 3 levels of interaction between the body and the soul, the Ramchal is going to discuss how they are each associated with those different time periods. So Tzadi Aleph, Amra Neshama, says the Neshama, please speak about these 3 different situations. Amra Seichel, says the intellect. Our sages have told us that the world will exist for 6,000 years. And in the 7,000th year, the world will be destroyed. And then Hashem will recreate the world. That's the Gemara in Sanhedrin. We also find Shomer that the rabbis say, Al Elef Hashvi, on the 7,000th year, Tzadikim Mausim. What do the righteous people do in the 7,000th year? HaKadosh Baruch Hu Osa Lahem Kanafayim V'Shatim Al Pnei Hamayim. Hashem makes wings for the righteous, and they will fly above the water. Shnemar, as it says, V'Kaveh Hashem Yachlifu Kayach. Those who place their hope in God will gain new strength. They will sprout wings like eagles. They will run without being weary. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean physical wings. Well, that would be cool, but this will be much cooler, be much more of a spiritual thing. So, from the simple reading of these words, and we learn that there are 3 time periods. What are these 3 time periods? Shisa Alfishnin, the 6,000 years. Elef Hashvi, the 7th millennium. The Chiddush HaOlam, and the period after that, the recreation of the world. So we have these 3 periods: the 6,000 years we're in now, the 7,000th year, and then the time after that. Shisa Alfei Shnin Ha'olam Omed K'moshu Ata. The 6,000 years, the world is like it is now. Elef Hashvi, in the 7,000th year, Adayin Lo Nischadish Ha'olam. The world is not recreated yet. V'atzdikim Hem K'moshu Chai B'Tchias HaMesim. The righteous are like they were at the resurrection of the dead. El Shakadosh Baruch Hu Osa Lahem Kanafayim, except Hashem makes them wings. So the righteous will get resurrected before the 6,000 years end, and then in the 7th millennium, they will get these spiritual wings, and whatever that means, some elevated level. The Chiddush HaOlam, when the world is recreated, Shakadosh Baruch Hu Yichadash HaOlam Chiddush Gomer, then He totally recreates the world. V'amnam The world like it is now, we see what has the power in this world that we're in now? The body. The body is the supreme ruler of all. So like the parable he used before, the metaphor he used before, like a man who rules his house. This is its place, the body in this world. Not another. However, in the 7th millennium, the righteous will be elevated from the earth. And the body will be outside of its normal place. Like a person traveling from his place, wandering away from home. And like a guest. So he's saying that in the 7th millennium, when the world starts changing the way it is now, we're still going to have a body. However, the body is going to be outside of its comfort zone. The body's comfort zone is in this world the way it is now, in the physical world. In the 7th millennium, the body is going to be outside of its comfort zone. And what is that similar to? Similar to the way Moshe Rabbeinu was when he received the Torah. He was up there for 40 days. He was in this spiritual plane. So he still had a body, and the body still had some sort of, it had an existence. However, it was outside of its normal place. The normal place is in this world, and it was outside of the normal place. So in the 7th millennium, we are going to be like Moshe Rabbeinu was when he received the Torah on that level. So the body doesn't do, since the body is no longer in the world, in the physical world, it's not going to have to do bodily things, because it's like a guest in the spiritual world. So what do the rabbis call the 7th millennium? It's the day which is totally all Shabbos and rest forever. Because we rest from all labors, all physical labors that are mundane. However, the body, even though the body is not doing any bodily functions, it's still there. It doesn't cease to exist. Because the world has not yet been recreated. So this is in the 7th millennium of Mechirish Ha'olam V'Halo. However, after the 7th millennium, when the world is created, Shehu L'Machar L'Kabel Scharim, which Chazal refer to is tomorrow you'll receive your reward. Right? We think very often that Olam Haba, when he says, today's the day to work and tomorrow is to receive the reward, we think when we die now and go to heaven and go to what's called Gan Eden. But that's really not what it's referring to, the Ramchal says. The Ramchal says, Lamachar, tomorrow, to accept your reward. That's referring to after the 7th millennium, and after the world gets recreated, that's when we get our reward. That's what really is Olam Haba, the world to come. Means this world we're in now will be recreated. Hine, ein tzarach or l'shita saguf klal. We don't need any. There is no control that the body has. We only need a body to do the service of Hashem in its proper time, which is now, in the 6,000 years. However, the body will exist. After the world is recreated, the body will have no power over the soul. However, it will exist and be totally subservient to the soul. Sounds like to get goodness for all of eternity. Let's just finish this. He has the end of a chapter here. Amra Neshama, says the soul. Now, it's very nice you telling me about the 7th millennium and the recreation of the world. He says, these concepts we're talking about, the spiritual world and the body not really existing, how can we talk about them? These are things really beyond our comprehension. Like, what's going on here? Amra Seichel, says the Seichel, says the intellect. Adrab, on the contrary, Lo Nedabrahem, we're not going to talk about them. He says, we know that there's such an existence, and we know there's such an existence called the 7th millennium, and after that, and we could talk about it in general terms. And that's what we're talking about now when we talk about the body and the soul. We're talking about very, very general terms. But the details and the specifics of these times, he's like, it's impossible for us to know the details of what's going to happen in the 7th millennium and after that. He says the only thing that we can really get to know the specifics of and how it works is the 6,000 years we're now, right? We have a body, we can understand physical things. When we start talking about the 7th millennium and after that in these purely spiritual terms, he's saying all we can understand are the general principles and that such a time period exists. To know the details, he says, it's impossible for us to understand. What can we know the details about? How the world's going to work now, the way we're in now. the physical world we're in now. But these other two time periods we can only know in general. When the body loses its control of it, and when the soul returns to its original strength. So he concludes it here. The soul says, if so, please speak about what we're able to understand. What the Ramchal now, in the next section, is going to go on to talk about is different things in this world. So he's going to talk about the existence of evil in this world and how that affects us. But it sounds like to the next two worlds, the seventh millennium, and after that we're done talking about. We've understood whatever we can understand, and to the details, we're going to go into the physical world we are in now.